Hey guys, welcome back. Every now and then, I know we've done similar videos in the past. We got basically the same video coming up today, except for the fact that it's going to use real today examples. We got a lot of the FOMO, everybody chasing the same thing. We went over it time and time again. But you should not do that. If you're looking to save money, you shouldn't be buying the newest set. You shouldn't be buying the thing that everyone's chasing, because most of the time it's going to be a bad idea. It's going to be a bad purchase if it's something that you're holding on to, that you're not playing the hot potato flipper dipper 69 game. You're going to want to avoid stuff like what we're looking at today. Now, it's wild to me just the amount of like things that no one wants it. No one wants it until it's expensive. No one wants it until other people want it. It's like the weirdest. It's like it's the most basic of human psychology. I didn't take much psychology in school, but my God, just why it's like the carrot that everyone is chasing at the same time. It's just like, please don't. I don't know if it's because I've seen it happen so many times over and over again that like everyone chasing the same thing. It retraces. Why did everyone chase the same thing? I mean, certain people are taking advantage of that, as we've seen at any time. If there's money involved, people are going to take advantage of the fact that, you know, something's going up. I got to buy it while it's going up. I'll buy it and then I'll sell it before it drops, before it retraces. We got a prime example here. We got the Ghastly from Temporal Forces. Now, rule of thumb. If you're looking to buy singles, if you want to collect the set, if you want a specific card, do not buy the card. If you want the best value, do not buy the card when it comes out. Now, there are examples where later on it gets more expensive, but almost always it's a bad idea to buy it on release, to pre-order, any of that stuff. And unless you're a player and you really want the cards right away, then by all means. And even then, you don't need the bling to put the bling in the deck. You just get the cheapest copy of whatever's available. If you want to bling it out later, you can. If you don't care about the money and you just want to blow it on Ghastlies for your deck, by all means. I don't think the Ghastly is even playable. I don't think the Ghastly is playable, so that's not really the case here. It's more about the fact that I think people are excited about the art. People are excited about, they want something. They want something. They want the pandemic back. They want the craziness that was, hey, I got to get on, on this thing that everyone's chasing, and then I can show it off, and everyone's going to be like, wow, I can't believe you have that totally overpriced IR. Now, no, the Ghastly should not be expensive. It should be probably more expensive than the other cards in the set, the other IRs, the equal rarity ones. I pulled 3 of these in my case. I mean, I didn't pull 3 of every. I didn't even pull every individual IR, but just as a little tidbit, as a little point, this is not any more rare than the other IRs in the set. There aren't that many IRs in the set. I think there's 24. We'll take a look at that in a little bit. Be careful. Is it a $10 card in a few months? Probably. Is it not? Are people still going to be going after it? There are a lot of them. Take that into consideration. Thank you, everyone. This video and every video, I guess, is sponsored by myself and my link tree here. We got lots of codes that you can use, discount codes, when you're shopping anyway. Make sure you save yourself some money and support the channel at the same time. Don't buy anything that you don't need or that you're not going to buy anyway. That's not how this works. That's not how I want it to work. And then also we got some free ways to support the channel here. Would much prefer you do that than anything else. If you're going to be shopping on these places that are on the screen here, just click on into there, click that old affiliate link, and support the channel at no additional charge other than a couple minutes. Now, we have Opossum Bud, who had a video recently, the Pumper Final Boss, where he's got some Reddit posts here where somebody says that him and the boys, him and the lads, him and the girls, him and the gang, they decided, hey, we're gonna pump this stuff up. They're going on about the Poker Rev Umbreon V. Man, people are just looking for an excuse, or they're looking for like something very surface level of why something's going up. Yes, cards can be manipulated. There's a lot of this chase stuff, especially on release, that can be manipulated. A lot of it doesn't even have to be entirely manipulated. If people see that something's going up, people are just going to jump on that shit. They're like, oh my God, did you see it doubled in price? That sounds like a good time to jump in on it. No, it's not. It's the opposite of that. You gotta stay away from that. Maybe I've seen too many sets. Maybe I've seen too many things going on here. But we got a big old retrace. I mean, not to mention the fact that this bad boy just came out. People just thought it was the next Magikarp. They're like, oh, it's Magikarp all over again, guys. We got to get it now before it's $100. but it's not Magikarp. It's much easier to pull than the Magikarp. There are less IRs in the set. You get that. I think you get the same amount of IRs per box on average. Pretty sure. But even then, when you have like 12 less, something like 12 less IRs in the set, don't quote me on that exact number. You'd have to count them out yourself, and I'm not going to do that right now. But there's essentially a full set worth of. So for anyone that isn't aware, that isn't familiar, I've said it a jillion times on the openings and stuff like that when we're trying to get the IRs. But it makes a huge difference how many IRs, basically how many Japanese sets are combined into one English set, to determine how rare any individual IR is. Now, you could get a whole bunch of the same one. You could get none of a certain one. But on average, if you open a billion boxes, they're gonna be the same rarity. There's no incentive for the Pokemon Company to do that. I know we're gonna have Dr. Applesauce, fucking cream in his pants, who's gonna say, "Oh, it's a mystery product. It's a mystery product." Well, the thing is, it doesn't cost the Pokemon Company any significant amount more or less to put these cards in there. It doesn't benefit them in a direct way as it would a mystery box that you can put a bunch of shitty cards in. You put all the shitty cards, you put one good card, you can manipulate that good card. Maybe it shows up at the end of the entire run of your mystery boxes. Maybe it doesn't show up at all. Maybe you don't even own the card. There's a ton of that stuff that can happen, it can be abused, it doesn't make any sense for the Pokemon Company to do this. There's no individual person that's opening enough. They do want people, again, their main audience, the main way that they're making money is not us super duper mega extreme collectors that we're delving in deep. Yes, even some of the big collectors that open a ton of product, and on the grand scheme of things, it's pretty meaningless compared to how much is sold through your big box stores. Little Timmy that gets his parents to buy him the box off the shelf, that's where the majority of the product is going. That's where the majority of the money is being made by the Pokemon Company, essentially. So keep that in mind. And just know, this is not a rare card. It just came out. You should not be buying something when it just came out. Now, a lot of these rules are going to apply like 99% of the time. There's going to be outliers, and I know somebody in the comments right now is like, Rattle, oh yeah, well look at this, it was more expensive later on. I waited after release and it got more expensive. Well, chances are if you wait a little bit longer than that, it'll probably come back down to where the rest of the set is, in accordance to the rest of the set, when people get bored of it. The attention span of people in Pokemon, the attention span of people in general is basically non-existent. It's ridiculous. You just remember back to the last thing, where people forgot about the felt hats already. They don't give a shit anymore. People forgot about the Sun and Moon alt arts. Oh, okay, yeah, they did. Yeah, if it's not being talked about, if it's not the thing that everyone's after at the moment, don't be after the same thing everyone else is after. This is kind of, so the people that were buying it at 34, it's now $20. Yeah, it would surprise, like, this is probably a $10 card. If I had to price it, if I had to like ignore the entire market, entire what's going on here, the entire hump, pump, and dump with your sump, I think it's $10. I think it should be $10. That's just my thoughts on it. Maybe I'm wrong. Also, TCG Player, for the love of God, please make separate listings or a separate search or separate category or something for the Japanese equivalent to this stuff. It's a fucking mess. I don't want to have to look through 20 Japanese listings to find out what the English price is. I'm sure people would like, that are looking for the Japanese cards, would like to have a separate thing too. It's gotten to the point that all this modern stuff has so many Japanese listings in here that it should be a separate little tab or separate checkbox or something. Please. Do yourself a favor, do me a favor, do anyone that's looking for any of it a favor. Now, the Magikarp, holy sweet baby, squeeze this. We got $149.99 direct from TCG Player, so don't chill out. It's $100 if we scroll down here. I think $103. So this is just the TCG Player direct is probably very limited on how many are actually there. This is essentially stuff that is sent to TCG Player for anyone that isn't aware. I know most of you probably are, but this is a direct from TCG Player. They have cards in house that people are selling. TCG Player will charge an extra fee to them to ship it out from TCG Player. So sort of like a Troll and Toad situation where they have them in house, but they don't have everything in house. Troll and Toad has everything in house, so it all goes in the same package. It's kind of a little bit of a trade-off there. You can probably usually get better prices if you're buying from different places. But if you're buying a ton of cards, it's such a pain in the butt to get them from like 17 different places, 17 different envelopes to make sure everything arrives, and then check off if everything arrives. Like individual cards, yeah, it's pretty sick nasty. I mean, if you don't mind having, I guess there's probably some people that were like, yeah, I like getting 65 letters individually rather than just one package. But it's tedious. It's tedious, but there is definitely value in doing that if you don't mind, or if you prefer getting, you know, daily mail for 2 weeks after you make a big purchase. Now, the difference here with the Magikarp and our boy, the Ghastly, is the fact that you have a certain amount of IRs. Yes, the pull rates did become more difficult, starting with Paradox Rift in terms of how many SIRs you get. You used to get like you used to get 2 SIRs per box with Base, Paldea, Evolved, and Obsidian Flames. They changed that up so that it's more like 1 per box, probably on average. I'd have to look at the numbers exactly, but significantly less. You usually get 1 secret rare used to get 1 secret rare and an SIR or 2 SIRs. They dialed up the difficulty. I think it was needed a little bit. Maybe it's too difficult at this point in time. But like the higher rarity stuff, when there were not very many examples of them, it was like very easy to complete that. And then you were just chasing the IRs became the chase of the set. In terms of if you were trying to open the set, you probably had all the SIRs before you had the IRs, just because certain sets had a lot of them. Now, the difference being this bad boy here, this set here with the Magikarp in it, you got, I think there's 34 total. So there's like 3 sets worth of like 12, 12, and 12 of these IRs, which just makes it insanely difficult to get any specific one. And with a large enough sample size, you're going to get the same amount of each individual one, or very close to it. Larger the sample size, the more close you become to those like true values, those true, you know, numbers that are going to come out of it. So cool little lesson there. Now, while we're on the topic, we have Iron Crown, we have the Dino Dogs, the space horses, and the Dino Dogs. These are important. This is an important little lesson because, yes, more temporal forces. This just came out, and there were some weird things going on with the prices when it came out. Not just the Ghastly, not the Ghastly there. That's $20 still apparently, but with the horses, the Iron Crown specifically spiked in price and went crazy. Now, I don't necessarily believe that this was entirely buyout. It might have been part buyout, but this is one of those things that why are you touching it anyway? Like it's kind of crazy to me. You shouldn't be pre-ordering this stuff. A lot of this stuff is going to settle in price. It's going to flush itself out. It's going to figure itself out. But I think the Iron Crown EX was largely to do with the fact that it was playable. When people are going to jump onto something that's playable, it starts selling. The price starts going up. You get people, their eyes open like this. And they say, oh my God, I got to buy one of those before it's $1 jillion and definitely isn't going to retrace. So playability is a big thing. If you're collecting modern Pokemon cards and you're buying anything that's within standard format, you need to be even just somewhat aware of what's playable and what's not playable. Because if you're holding onto it and it becomes not playable anymore, if you're holding onto it and it rotates, it is immediately going to drop in price. There's always some aspect or some amount of that pricing that is involved with it being playable. I don't know. It feels weird that I'm doing like a stonk dogger kind of video, but this is more of just like a, hey, if you're collecting, this is the kind of stuff that you just want to avoid. This is I don't even know. This is not like financial advice. This is just be aware of what's going on so that you're not wasting money on this stuff. There's like Every time there's something that spikes in price, people are just so excited to get in on it. And it's usually a bad idea. For the collectors, at least. If you're buying this thing somewhere in between this line and you sold it at this, sure, congratulations. I think there's better ways for you to spend your time and effort. But again, a lot of this stuff is just like trying to time the market on it. I think it's just not worth it. You're gonna have wins, you're gonna have losses, you're gonna waste a lot of time doing it. Maybe if you really enjoy it, you want to play the Pokemon stock game, then go for it. But this boy here, when it's not playable anymore, when no one's playing it, when it's a few sets old and it's not played anymore, if it's not played anymore, it's going to go down in price. When it rotates out, it's probably going to go down in price. Where do these settle out? Probably a lot lower than where they are. Yes, the pull rates are more difficult, so this thing is more susceptible to being purchased by players to put in their deck if they need multiple copies of it, because they do, for their deck. Then this thing can get gobbled up pretty quickly. Same with if somebody decides, hey, I want to buy, how many are on the market here? We got 49 of them in near mint. So at the point when this came out and when it spiked, there probably weren't that many on TCG Player. And if they're only, I think what was it on release? It was like $50. $50 on release, $50. Maybe there was 20, maybe there was 10. It takes a little while for product to get opened. I think there's also something to be said that I think there's less product being opened now than ever. Not than ever, but in recent times, I feel like people aren't really opening as much of the Scarlet and Violet. I think people are crazy. People are kind of like defaulting back to the Sword and Shield stuff. I think people are burnt out. I think there's probably some wallet fatigue in terms of like modern product and stuff like that. There's a lot of options, a lot of things going on. And I don't know. I think you're delusional if your opinion is that Sword and Shield artwork was better than Scarlet Violet. I think we're very spoiled. And if Scarlet Violet really pops off, because usually within like a certain era or a certain generation, later on in the sets, you get more crazy stuff. You get crazy stuff going on. We'll probably end up with megas at some point. Those will be pretty cool. Hopefully we get a mega Mawile, and hopefully it's playable. But if we even take a look, we just need to take a little look back. So my typical rule in terms of if you're putting sets together and you want to do it the most financially responsible way and possible. You want to save the most money possible. You want to put a set together. You want the whole thing. You want to put in a binder. Maybe you want a certain card for your collection. This is going to be the hardest pill to swallow, the hardest thing to do when you're around this stuff all the time and people are like, oh my god, I got the Ghastly. Well, we just got to take a look back at the old Scarlet and Violet base, and I know people are like, oh, I fucking hate Scarlet Violet base. Well, guess what? People hated fucking Chilling Reign. They hated Fusion Strike. They hated all of that stuff too. They thought it was garbage. Now they love it because it's going up in price. Whoop-de-doo. What changed? The price? The fact that other people want it, now you want it? So if you can remove yourself from that, it's just, you're so much better off. Just remove yourself. Like, don't want something because other people want it. Don't want something because it's expensive. Just watch the scramble that is everyone trying to buy it and sell it and flip it and dip it, and you just sit back and remove yourself, make smart decisions, save yourself some money putting your sets together, save yourself some money getting those cards that maybe you didn't open, maybe you didn't pick it up at the time, it was more expensive. We got the Miriam Special Illustration Rare, $19. Gardevoir, $16. These were not easy to pull. The set was a little bit smaller because it was only 2 Japanese sets, and usually the base sets are a little bit, they're printed a little bit heavier than usual. Maybe it was printed a little bit heavier because coming out of Sword and Shield, coming out of the remnants of the pandemic. Maybe we have a little bit of extra product on the market. But overall, it doesn't matter. We got, look at this. We got a Jacques SIR for $2. So, you're probably in a good spot when you can purchase a lot of the chase cards for less than the price of a pack, or maybe the price of a couple packs. Because if you open a couple packs, you're not getting that. You're probably not getting any of this stuff. When you got 4 packs is the price of the most expensive card in the set. The set is probably at the point that it's time to scoop it up. If you're being frugal, if you're trying to save, if you're trying to get the most bang for your buck, usually, for the most part, and we got weird things that happen every now and then, you want to buy stuff that's a generation or 2 old, because at that point in time, it's done kind of falling off. All of it falls off because it's no longer the new shiny thing. It's going to fall off a little bit. And voila, here you are coming in, scooping it up. And then it'll probably, if it's healthy, it'll gradually creep up over time. It won't be a bunch of people. And then if you own it and people jump in on it, then you sit back and you say, ooh, who gives a shit? Or maybe if you're not in love with it anymore, maybe you sell it at that point. But this is it's crazy to me that people, again, it's the same stuff that people hate. They hate on. They say it sucks. They don't want it. And then all of a sudden they want it. And no, it's not every individual person, but for the most part. It's pretty crazy. The chilling pain. Oh no, it sucks so bad. Yeah, well, now people want it. Weird, right? Also, these sets, all of this modern stuff, in terms of difficulty to pull individual cards it's never been this difficult. And like at the end of Sun and Moon and kind of onward, it's basically impossible to open product and get the entire set. Now, there's certain sets that are smaller, certain sets that are easier than others, but for the most part, you got to take that into consideration. Maybe that's something that you take into account when you're buying stuff. I think baby shinies, for the most part, are kind of underrated in that way, because it's not hard to get a baby shiny out of these shiny sets, but to get all of the baby shinies, it takes an insane amount of product. So just because if there's over 100 baby shinies, there's a lot of product to get any individual baby shiny. An extra ticker on that counter. So I think those could do some weird things later. I think a lot of this stuff, like your VMAX hyper rares from Sword and Shield, very hard to pull. Just no one gave a shit because people were tired of hyper rares, I guess, tired of the rainbow foils. Even Paldea Evolved here, we got $100 on the Magikarp. Iono, $70. Now, Iono is another one where there are different versions of Iono. It's wild to me that that's the ultra rare. I thought that was the promo. The promo came out. We have the full art version. We have the regular version. We have probably some other ones that came in battle decks and everything else. But Iono, very super playable to the extreme. Same thing with Marnie. Marnie was expensive for a long time, especially when it first came out. The holo Marnie was like $10 a piece or something crazy, because it was people needed 4 of them. You want 4 of them for your deck. Everyone needs 4 of them. People are going to want to bling it out. People are just going to want to collect the Wafu cards, if you will. All that sort of thing. So a lot of this stuff still is a little bit higher. I think Tyranitar was pretty expensive on release. But even then, we're starting to see like your Paldea Evolved kind of fall off a little bit here. The special illustration rare Dendra for $5.50, $8.58. That is that's insanely cheap. Insanely cheap. So for everyone that's looking to buy Ghastlies, and you could buy 3 or 4 Dendras instead, what are you doing? All right, now we have Obsidian Flames. Again, this was a weird one. A little bit of a small set. I think, was it one Japanese set? 2 Japanese sets. Maybe one Japanese set. I can't remember. It was very small, and then it was a bunch of like theme decks. So there was a bunch of like normal EX decks from Japanese that were turned into English. So this thing was easy. This thing was like 2 cases, and I finished the entire, just under 2 cases. I finished the entire set. So it was a little bit of an oddball. We got the Chorizard, who's still $36 to $45, which is pretty crazy considering it's Charizard. People are gonna want the Charizard, so. I think even if it's easy to pull, it's still going to have some value. Remember, on my rule, it's very unlikely that a Charizard stays under $10 in the long term. So keep an eye on even these Charizards over here. Now, Charizard itself is playable. People playing a lot of Charizard. Same with the Pidgeot. That's why he's up here flying high in the sky with the Charizards. So again, the Charizards could fall off before they come back up. There's just a ton of different Charizard EX options, so the premium is probably not entirely there. I mean, we got the shiny one, we got this one, we got that one, we got there was promo box. There's like, oh man, I lost count of how many Charizard EXs there are, so that might be just printed to the point that you're not really seeing that premium anymore. All right, what we got here? We got Paradox Rift, which is, again, it's still fairly new. We got some prices that are they're starting to look pretty attractive. Will it come down to where it was, to what it was? Another thing that I think is a little bit underrated, almost similar to the hyper rares from the Sword and Shield era, is the Paradox, well, not Paradox Rift necessarily, but these gold cards, these hyper rares, the new hyper rares, not the rainbow hyper rares, the new hyper rares that are the gold cards. I think they're underappreciated. Not necessarily for the looks of them. I think the looks are kind of doing them a disservice. People not necessarily wanting those. They want the SIR. They don't want the hyper rare. They don't want the gold one. They want the one with different artwork on it, the special artwork versions. Now, that doesn't make them less rare. It makes them, they're insanely hard to pull. I think that they're designed to be more difficult to pull than the actual SIRs. They're later on in the set. But again, if no one wants them, there's also less of them %. So maybe it works out to the point that they're not more difficult to pull any individual one. But still very rare, and still pretty wild that, that, you know, when you're buying them and you're buying them for a price of like a pack or two. Crazy. Absolutely crazy when people are hunting for these things. Now we have the Umbreon V. I meant to bring it up here, but I made a Twitter post on my Rattle Pokemon Marketplace, well, Ultra made a post on the Marketplace, and just wanted to see. I want to see what people thought of the Umbreon V, because we all know the story. Everyone's like, "Oh my God, the Pokerev said it was his favorite, and then it went, and it was his fault. He pumped it. He pumped the market." I'm like, if he's not intentionally pumping the market, if he's just saying that it's one of his favorite cards, like, if I said that it was underrated, but I only have my one copy, my intention is clearly not to like pump the price of my one copy, because I don't care. It's in the binder. I'm not gonna sell it anyway. Whoop-de-doo, who gives a crap, kind of thing. I don't know. I think a lot of the stuff was underrated. Evolving Skies has been opened a lot. I think I pulled 3 of these in my entire search for the Moonbreon. The Alt-Art Vs are definitely easier to pull than the V Maxes, based on my experience. But yeah, I think this has a lot to do with, it's the same thing with like the Aerodactyl, right? Rev couldn't get the Aerodactyl. Oh, wow. Aerodactyl, what's going on with that Aerodactyl? Did I pull 2 or 3 like in a row? It's like sometimes it just shows up, sometimes it doesn't show up. It doesn't mean it's any more rare or less rare than the other ones. Now, Umbreon is probably going to get a premium over a lot of the other Vs that are in the set, especially the really less desirable Pokemon. But I mean, there's probably not many of them on the market. And again, as soon as people start buying this stuff, as soon as people start seeing the price go up on it, they're like, "Oh my God, I need it. I need it. It's expensive. I need it. People want it. I want it." And voila, then you see the price go absolutely insane on it. I don't know if I have the TCG player open. So along with that, we have people who are going to go to a game shop. They're going to go and they're going to find trade binders. They're going to find copies, because it spiked in price so quickly that there's probably some places that don't reprice everything all the time, because they probably have display cases full of this stuff. So you can probably get lucky there and get one for the price that it was prior to. Now, I don't think it's going to remain. I think this is a prime example of something that's going to retrace. Same with like the Tina, same with all of this, like the product itself. People really banking on the product, people buying into the product. Your Lost Origin booster box, people tracking the booster box prices, and then trying to time and see whether or not it's going to sell out on Pokemon Center, because there's almost like a dam in place at this point in time, where depending on, you can't tell how much is on the Pokemon Center, as far as I can tell, unless anyone's like scraping the website in order to find out like how many they have, and then it might be automated that it just restocks itself. So there's probably no way to guarantee or know exactly how many boxes are on the Pokemon Center, but essentially that Pokemon Center price is going to be a little bit of a barricade until that sells out. There's not really, now the price of the box can go above that, because people are just, don't shop around. But that's kind of what we're looking at there. I know PK has been watching the Brilliant Stars to see when that sells out. I'm sure it'll be, there's a finite amount that they have in there that people are going to purchase eventually. I think Brilliant probably got a bigger print run than a lot of the other sets. Charizard set, it's got a lot of cool stuff. All the like late Sword and Shield stuff is really cool. We got Trainer Gallery, which is one of my favorite things. I think that it's kind of still have Trainer Gallery. It's not necessarily always Trainer Gallery. It's more like special artwork with the IRs. Love the IRs. A lot of the IRs are really sick. A lot of the SIRs are really sick. Full arts are doing their thing. Lots of new artists in the TCG. I guess that also lends into, it's just like, why do people want it now? Because it's moving? I don't see the appeal in like trying to time this stuff. If a box goes up, if a product goes up, if any of the stuff goes up in price, especially if it's going up in price really quickly, like I'd rather just not touch it. If I want a box, if I want to sit on boxes or product of any set, again, I'm not really a sealed product collector. I'll keep a little bit for funsies. Typically, I have my full set complete. I have no desire to open that product, and it probably is just going to end up that years from whenever it came out and whenever I put it aside, I'll probably end up trading it for cards that I need for my sets, or sell it off and buy something that I actually want to put in my collection. I'd rather have the cards than the sealed product. But it's kind of neat to sit on some product. You have a lot more people sitting on the product now, but also at the same time, everyone overestimates how many people are sitting on the product. If that makes any sense, like how many people are going to sit on it long term versus how many people have it on the shelf in the background, and as soon as it goes up in price, they're going to open it, or they're going to sell it to somebody that's going to open it on a whatnot stream and overcharge for whatever's being sold there. Now, we have Temporal Forces has been a disappointment. I hope you guys are buckled in for this rant. We're already 31 minutes in, and we are not done yet. Temporal Forces has been a disappointment. So that we got people complaining about the pull rates and stuff like that. I opened hundreds of packs. I got nothing. I opened a booster bundle and got absolutely nothing. Almost always, when someone says that they opened any significant amount of product and they got absolutely nothing, they mean they didn't get the chase cards. Almost always. Everyone's like, "Oh man, yeah, it sucked. I didn't get any." Oh wait, you got EXs, you got a full art, you got an IR. Okay, yeah. So you got pretty much what you were supposed to. But hundreds of packs. Why don't you give us the actual number of packs here? This is just like, yes, Pokemon cards. It's hard to open the chase stuff. It's like, oh, I opened so much Evolving Skies and I didn't get anything. I mean, you mean you didn't get the Moonbryon or the Rayquaza or anything like that? There's probably a bunch of stuff that we should have covered today that I haven't covered, but I wanted you guys to get a feel for my thought process and what's going on here. Again, I think the best thing you can do for yourself, just for like your enjoyment of the hobby, and to not just don't stress yourself out, and to avoid just play it safe. There's lots of things that you can purchase, lots of things that you can do that isn't necessarily the flashy thing that everyone wants to do. Now, Sword and Shield boxes been going crazy. Again, these are all sets that people said they didn't care about for the most part. I mean, like, no one ever really said they hated Lost Origin, but I think it was largely to do with Giratina is pretty cool, right? Evolving Skies, everyone was just, I mean, 95% of what's in Evolving Skies, people don't give a shit. It's just kind of what it is. Even the evolutions that aren't the special versions of the evolutions, no one cares. For the most part, I think it's a cool set. I think it's a cool set when you put it all together. But again, people are just looking. They want the lottery ticket. They want the flashy. They want the chance at the Moonbryon. It's the same reason why the Evolving Skies streams were so entertaining, so successful. Had so many people excited to see, like, when is it going to happen? When is it going to happen? But again, and also, if you're opening packs, please, for the love of God, do not open an Evolving Skies booster box. You can get the loose packs for much cheaper. There's still multi-pack products that are available that have Evolving Skies in it. Don't open this, please, for the love of God. Not to mention the fact that, like, I don't know if you'd be better off or not. Like, on average, I don't know. I kind of like loose packs for openings a little bit more, but also getting a feel for what's in each individual booster box. The pull rates are the same with a large enough sample size. You get to see that. Early Sword and Shield, still pretty low. We got Sword and Shield base. Again, Sword and Shield base was in a lot of products. The base sets, the Sun and Moon base, stuff like that. Usually, they haven't ramped up to the craziness that's within the packs. I don't know if we're gonna see a difference in that with Scarlet Violet, because we started off, we had IRs. We had SIRs. We haven't really strayed from that at this point in time. But again, I'm sure Pokemon has something crazy coming for us. It'll be like Mega EXs, or it'll be tag teams, or it'll be something like that. It'll be something that adds on to it that makes it more crazy. Maybe a different type of artwork. And we got those weird green and gold cards, and that people didn't seem to really like those. So maybe we don't see anything like that. I don't know if that was a failed attempt or if that was just a one-off thing that they decided to do. So yeah, we got our late Sword and Shield booster boxes here, which typically late in the era is like when they're going to be exciting. But again, Pokemon could change it up. They don't usually change it up. When you see the spike here, again, not that anyone at any point, even down at the $450, really wanted, or even at the $300, the $400 mark. Not that people didn't want Evolving Skies. It's just, do people really want it that much more now that it's going crazy? They want to. I mean, I get the appeal. You want to sit back. You want to have your box. You want to buy your box at $685, and you want to see it go up. Is it going to go to $700? Is it going to go to $800? Is it $1,000 box yet? Maybe. Expected value of a box of Evolving Skies for the contents is probably, it's low. It's really low. It might be like $50 on average, if I had to guess. Trainer Trey opened one when we were in Toronto, and my God, that thing was bad. I think he traded in for like $30 store credit or something to one of the booths. I just brought all the singles. Fusion Strike, again, people, what happened to Fusion Strike? Everyone was like, oh, all the hits are removed. It sucks. It's too hard to pull stuff. Earlier on Sword and Shield stuff before the trainer gallery was just brutal. It was hard to pull stuff, and that should make the singles more desirable. We had the whole controversy where there was a whole bunch of the hit cards from the set stolen. They were retrieved from the Pokemon Company. They had to reprint or reseed in the hits from that box. The hits were still in the boxes. The cards were destroyed for the most part. I'm sure there's some that got leaked out or sold or whatever to individual people. I can't imagine they got every single one of them back. But at the same time, why do people want it now? Because it's expensive? Pretty much. Same thing here. We got the Lost Origin. Ooh, Lost Origin was like expensive, and then it kind of came down. We're on the 1 year mark here. We got a nice little U here. It's back up to where it was. So, I mean, I guess the upside to like the sealed product stuff is like it'll probably get back to where it's gonna be. But again, if you're trying to time this stuff, and if you're buying it here, and you had to wait a year for it to get back up to where it was, are you not better off just buying it when it's available, and then wait for it to go up in a year? I don't know. I don't see the appeal or why it would be worth taking the risk to buy it around here. Like, it could dip back down. Again, we're getting into stuff that is also, I mean, it's not that it's likely to get reprints, like, but the stuff that's in standard format, possible reprints. I mean, the packs themselves are probably still available, probably still very available within the multi-pack products. Booster box itself. We got Astral Radiance. I think Astral Radiance sold out. People were amped about that. Now, need we go back? Not even as far as last time people, I mean, it wasn't even the last time that people were all chasing the same thing, but this seems eerily similar to, we got the Umbreon price going up. We got the Treequaza price going up. I should have had the Treequaza open. But that kind of thing. The Alt-Art chase, the Alt-Art's going up. Need we look back as far as the Sun and Moon stuff that wasn't really sought after at the time that it came out? Then all of a sudden, when people, I don't know exactly what the factor was for it. People, they found out. They figured it out. They were like, what? There was Alt-Arts in Sun and Moon? Again, a lot of the people, I guess this was like pre-pandemic. When did Cosmic Eclipse come out? Team Up and that stuff. Pre-pandemic. So a lot of people weren't around for this. So maybe some of that led to like, oh, what? I missed out on Alt-Arts? They had them before? And again, this is like the Cosmic, the later on, the Team Ups, the Tag Teams, stuff like that at the end of the Sun and Moon era that were, they got to dial up the excitement somehow to keep the progression. And then they usually kind of do like a flush out reset. Now, if we look at these prices, yes. Again, if you were buying this stuff at the when everyone wanted it price, some of it's worse than others. Some of it hasn't retraced all the way back to where it was over the last year, but a lot of it is just like if you didn't if you didn't buy into the FOMO, if you just wait till people turn their eyes and look at something else, you're almost always going to be better off. Was it 223, 224 to 168? So you save yourself $50 by not wanting this at the same time as everyone else. We got Raichu here, $190, 120-ish. Sweet. $70. Save yourself $70 potentially. We got the Mega Sableye and Tyranitar. Now, these are beautiful cards. I mean, I appreciate kind of every era and every Pokemon card for what it is. It all plays a role in different sets and in different eras and different rarities and everything else. But as you can see here, patience and not chasing the thing that other people are chasing is usually going to pay off. Now, we got the Magikarp and Wailord here that hasn't come back to where it was. And again, there's not very many of these. So like the ability to exploit something like this is definitely a possibility. So just be wary of that. I'm sure some of that was market manipulation, and I'm sure some of it was just people saw the price going up and wanted it because other people wanted them. It's just it's always a combination. It's never one thing. It's not PokeRev that made the Aerodactyl. It's also people jumping in on the Aerodactyl. Like maybe somebody bought a whole bunch of them. They're like, oh shit, PokeRev can't get it. I gotta buy them all. And then the people go check the price. They see the price went up, and they're like, damn it, I'm gonna miss out on it. I'm not gonna be able to get that Aerodactyl. The Aerodactyl became very cheap after that. Again, it's an Altard V. It's a nice card, but again, it wasn't something that you need to empty your savings account for. And certainly not something that, when there's still product widely available, the odds that the prices are going to stay where they are when everyone's chasing it is just not likely. Here we have another one that retraced, but not quite so much. Here we have one that didn't. Well, I mean, it retraced at certain points, but kind of stayed up. Greninja and Zoroark, pretty cool. Still one of the more affordable versions. Here we have a nice one, $111, down to $82. So you just got to be a little bit aware of the scale on the left hand side here. Like some of the peaks look a little bit more egregious or a little bit more aggressive than others, but for the most part, this stuff has retraced and probably back where to where it belongs, I guess, where it should be. Same with the pandemic, a lot of that stuff. This is like 2023 spike though, so we're out of the pandemic. This was just the hype that was around this stuff was kind of setting it off, and the big hype boy to the max, Latias and Latios, which looks like it retraced about $100, which is not as much as some of the other ones, and relative to like the price that it is here, but still expensive. Still might not ever go back down. It might be the Moonbryon of the Sun and Moon era. But hopefully this was helpful. I know it was extremely long. We're at 43 minutes. But I can't get over the fact. I know there's got to be a few new people that are just getting into the hobby that are not aware of this kind of stuff. That if you can just get over that step where you're chasing the same thing that everyone else is chasing, you're going to be so much better off. It's going to be less, and I don't know, some people probably like that part of it, that excitement factor, but for the most part, I would think, for me personally at least, that it's more healthy to have a good perspective on what's going on and what potentially is a bad purchase. Different story if you were just living on the edge, you want to be a flip master 69, and you're just gonna buy on stuff that's going up and try to sell at the peak and try to buy at the valley of all valleys. Not for me, but and I think not for most people. In terms of burnout, it's a real thing. Trying to watch prices all the time, it's a real thing. So just like having a general sense of what's going on, avoiding bad purchases, I think it's in your best interest. But let me know what you think down below. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for joining the Discord. Another market discussion with Rattle. I know this is not the usual content we're making here, but I've seen so much of it. I felt like we need to do a little discussion video. Take care. Bye.